like to open this special meeting Tuesday, November 28th, 2023 at 10 a.m. And Terry, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Steve, did you have somebody lined up for the invocation?
No, it wasn't my turn.
No.
Okay, thank you. No, that's fine. Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to start off on public hearing, information, discussion, action to adopt resolution number 23-11-07, granting a 25-year franchise to Cactus State Utility Operating Company, LLC, Cactus State, to provide water services to Cactus State's customers in the Tonto Village service area. And I'm not sure who's presenting today.
Mr. Chairman, I believe Samantha Trimble, Chief Deputy or Deputy Clerk of the Board, is on the phone and will be presenting.
Good morning, Samantha. Are you with us today?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Okay, good. Well, you can present as any. It's all yours.
Alrighty. Thank you, Chairman and board members. So as stated, Cactus State Utility Operating Company, LLC, is also known as Cactus State. So throughout my presentation, I'm going to refer to them as Cactus State. On October 23rd, 2023, I received an franchise application from Caitlin Smith of Fenimore Craig PC Law Offices on behalf of Cactus State to provide water services to Cactus State's customers in the Tonto Village area. Ms. Smith is present to answer questions or concerns of the board throughout this time. So if you guys want to talk to her about anything, we can address her. She is there. The application was reviewed by the clerk of the board's office and attorney Jeff Dalton. It meets all requirements of resolution number 16-12-01, which is the resolution that outlines regulations and procedures for all utility franchises in unincorporated Gila County. If adopted by the board, resolution number 23-11-07 grants a 25-year franchise to Cactus State to provide water service to the Tonto Village area. Within 10 days after granting the franchise, Cactus State is required to provide me with a certificate of insurance and a signed franchise acceptance form. In December of 2021, the Arizona Corporation Commission, ACC, approved the joint application of Tonto Village Water Company, Inc. and Cactus State to transfer the water utility system assets and the certificate of convenience and necessity, so that's known as the CCNN, to Cactus State or the Tonto Village service area. Cactus State provides service to approximately 190 customers in the Tonto Village area. The notice of hearing was published in the Pace and Roundup newspaper. The application fee and publication fee have been paid. I have not received any objection regarding this request. I'd be happy to answer any questions, or we can address Ms. Smith as well. And a public hearing is required for this item.
Oh, okay. Supervisor Klein, do you have anything?
I do not. I'm good.
Supervisor Christensen, do you wish to ask any questions today?
Thank you. No questions, no comments. Thank you.
Okay, I only have one. On the 25-year franchise, is that just common to have them for 25 years, or is there a reason that that's for 25 years?
Yes, sir. That's just how the county has always done it, is a 25-year franchise.
Okay, that's fine. Asked and answered. All right, then I guess Supervisor Klein, I'll call for a motion.
We need to go through the public hearing process.
Okay, I'll open it to public hearing. Does anybody have anything up in Payson for the public hearing?
No, sir.
Anyone here to comment on the public hearing? Okay, I'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt resolution number 23-11-077, granting a 25-year franchise to Cactus State Utility Operating Company, LLC.
I will second that.
With a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Passed unanimous. Okay, moving on to public hearing 2B, information discussion action to adopt resolution number 23-11-08, granting a 25-year franchise to Cactus State Utility Operating Company, LLC, Cactus State, to provide water services to Cactus State's customers in Christopher Creek subdivision and Gardner subdivision. Okay, Samantha, you're on again.
Thank you. So I also received this franchise application from Ms. Smith on October 23rd that she submitted on behalf of Cactus State. This franchise application for Cactus State to provide water service to its customers in the Christopher Creek subdivision and the Gardner subdivision. The application was reviewed by the clerk of the board's office and Mr. Dalton. It also meets all the requirements of resolution number 16-12-01, and the application and publication fees have been paid. So if adopted by the board, resolution number 23-11-08 grants a 25-year franchise to Cactus State to provide water service to the Christopher Creek subdivision and Gardner subdivision. Within 10 days after granting the franchise, Cactus State is required to provide me with a certificate of insurance and signed franchise acceptance form. In December 2021, this application was also approved by the ACC for the transfer of the water utility system assets and the certificate of convenience and necessity to Cactus State. This utility system is comprised of two subsystems, Christopher Creek Haven and Gardner Water System. Christopher Creek serves a population of 30 full-time residents with 194 connections. Gardner Water System serves a full-time resident population of 30 people with 94 connects. The total number of connections is greater than the resident population because many residents use this area as their second home. The notice of hearing was published in the Roundup newspaper, and I have not received any objection regarding this request. And if you have any questions, Ms. Smith or I are available to answer those for you.
Okay, thank you, Samantha. Supervisor Klein, do you have any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Samantha, on this, it says on mine, resolution number is the same as the previous one. Is that correct?
No.
No, I think this
No, it's
this is 08, the other one was 07, I do believe.
Okay,
Yeah,
I got it.
that's correct.
Okay, I'm good. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you.
all right.
Supervisor Christensen, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, then I will open it to the public. For public hearing, do we have any public in Payson?
No, sir.
Do we have any public here in Globe? Okay, I will close the public hearing and I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt resolution number 23-11-08, granting a 25-year franchise to Cactus State Utility Operating Company, LLC.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. It was passed unanimous. Moving on to 3, regular agenda item, information discussion action to approve Sourcewell contracting agreement number 020221-AAC with Agile Fleet Incorporated in the amount of $55,417.01 for from November 1st, 2023 through October 31st, 2024 for the Fleet Commander software program. Good morning. You're not Homero.
No, I'll be standing in for Homero. He had some training he needed to attend, so
Okay.
This software has been huge for general services. It has bridged a gap that used to exist. In the past, it's been difficult sharing maintenance and repair history from our north to south shop. as well as the easeability of tracking our repair, maintenance, and fuel costs. I mean, it's all on one place. We can go and view it, and it's made that so much simpler than the way we used to do it. A new thing that we've started doing as of this fiscal year is we're actually using Fleet Commander as a billing tool. So this has actually reduced the amount of time spent on these billing functions, and actually has reduced the amount of mistakes that used to be made. So it's been big in doing that. We're also in the process, and we're almost there. We're setting up what's called maintenance due reminders. So in the event your vehicle is due for maintenance, it'll alert us, and we will send out an email basically saying, hey, it's time for service, come on in, and that will definitely reduce the amount of overdue services that sometimes happens when you just rely on the sticker in the window. Other than that, I'll take any questions anyone has regarding this.
Thank you. Supervisor Klein.
I'm good, thanks, David.
All right.
Supervisor Christensen. Do you have any questions? Just one? Just five?
Trying to hit that. Okay.
No questions.
Okay, and I have none. Supervisor Klein on
Yeah.
council motion.
Well
Mr.
done.
Chair, I'd make the motion to approve Sourcewell contract agreement number 020221-AAC with Agile Fleet Incorporated in the amount of $55,417.01.
I will second.
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Passed unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have a good day. Okay, moving on to 3B. I don't believe there's any more action. Nope. Okay. 3B, information discussion regarding the role of the public fiduciary in Gila County. Tiffany, you're on. Thank you very much for all you do.
You're welcome. Good morning, supervisors and Chairman Christensen. First off, I would like to introduce you to my staff, which include myself, Laura Short, which is my deputy. I have 3 case managers, Patty Luce, Patty Ortega, Sonia Boyd. Jillian Velarde is my finance specialist. Danny Crick is the administrative clerk, and John Perlman is the attorney for the Public Fiduciary's Office. So the definition of a fiduciary. A fiduciary is someone who, for a fee, serves as court-appointed guardian or conservator for one or more persons who are unrelated to the fiduciary. A fiduciary accepts the responsibility for taking care of the needs or property of another person for the benefit of that person. The office of the public fiduciary was established by the 1974 legislature to serve as fiduciary of last resort. And if you made a copy of what was online, there is a newer version that was uploaded, so I'll get that copy to you. Fiduciary organizations. In Arizona, there are several types of businesses that follow under the definition of a fiduciary. You have individuals, business entities, government entities such as myself, so there's 15 public fiduciaries around the state of Arizona, and then there's nonprofit fiduciaries. The professional fiduciary must be licensed with an Arizona Supreme Court individually and as a business entity if applicable prior to accepting court appointments. Regarding licensure, licensure is granted by the Supreme Court through testing, fingerprint, and background check. Public fiduciaries are appointed by the Board of Supervisors of each county. So I was appointed by the Board of Supervisors over 23 years ago. Cases are appointed to fiduciaries by the Superior Court judges. Gila County case manager, specialist, and finance specialist must be licensed after completing 3 years of hands-on training underneath the fiduciary. We currently have 3 licensed fiduciaries in my office. So when is a referral appropriate? A referral is appropriate anytime one feels they know of a vulnerable or incapacitated person who is a victim of abuse or who is in danger of abandonment, neglect, or self-neglect. Per statute 46455 states, a person who has been employed to provide care to an incapacitated or vulnerable person and who causes or permits the life or health of an adult to be endangered is guilty of a Class 5 felony. So who can make a referral? Basically, anybody can make a referral to the public fiduciary. It could be yourself, it could be a neighbor, a friend, a family member, an agency, a health department, a hospital, a police officer. So anybody can refer someone to our office. And Laura Short in my office, she will go with someone from my office or myself, and we'll go and do an investigation, and we'll make a recommendation for the need of guardianship. The fiduciary is responsible for gathering information to make a decision as to the need for an appointment. We have to determine whether or not this person will suffer a financial loss if we don't step in, will benefit by having a fiduciary, whether or not this person will qualify for benefits. It's really important that the person have benefits or at least qualify for benefits, so we'll apply for all the benefits for them, but if they don't qualify for any benefits, it's very hard to serve them if they don't have a benefit such as long-term care, developmental disability, seriously mentally ill, things like that. Is the person at physical risk, and have they exhausted all suitable service providers? Next is John Perlman. He's been serving as the attorney for the Public Fiduciary Office for over 22 years. And we appear in front of Judge Chambers, Judge Wright, and Judge Wolak. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to jump in at any time. So the process for a petition for an appointment. Legal pleadings are prepared by the Public Fiduciary Attorney, John Perlman. A hearing is scheduled with the Superior Court. The judge appoints a court investigator, an attorney, and a physician, and all of those people will write a report to the judge. He'll review those documents and make a determination as to whether or not that person needs a guardian and or conservator. In addition to general guardianship, there's mental health guardianship, and the mental health guardianship powers allows me to give the authority to consent a person into a inpatient mental health facility. So I have general guardianship basically on everyone, and there are several people that I also have mental health guardianship, which allows me to place them in a hospital.
Tiffany, if I might, when you start one of these cases and you guys, like I said, those three have to prepare a written report to the judge, how long does that take to get through that process?
Well, usually when you set court out, it has to be at least 2 weeks, because that's what it takes to get it on the court calendar, 14 days. And so something will go out to that physician, and they have to have it into court by that time.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So we currently have 84 cases. Here is where all of our clients are located. The next one is the client location chart. We have a lot of people that live in Gila County, but if they don't live in Gila County, it's because the services that they receive are outside of Gila County. So we place them where their needs are being met. In 2023, we investigated 29 cases. We were appointed on 7. We denied 8 of them. Cases referred to private fiduciaries are 5. Decedents' estates are 4, and we were terminated on 1 guardianship. This particular case, myself and someone else actually transported this client to Texas, which is where her family is from. I was able to go visit her 2 times, and after that it was determined that a family member was able to become a surrogate decision maker for her, and we were able to terminate the guardianship. So we got her where she needed to be with her family, and then we were able to terminate the guardianship. Expenses of establishing guardianship and conservatorship. Filing fees charged by the clerk of the court, attorney's fees, proposed ward's attorney fees, there's physician report costs, court investigator costs, and then private fiduciaries have bonds. There are proposed, excuse me, proposed by the public fiduciary are approved by Gila County Board of Supervisors and Superior Court presiding judge. Public fiduciary fees are approved annually by the Superior Court judge on each case. So every year, annually, we present the case to the judge and he approves the fees. Fees are collected only when ward's necessities have been met. Here is the public fiduciary fee schedule. Next are revenues and uncollected fees. Our goal is to collect $45,000 a year, and in 22-23 we collected $82,000. The increase was due to stimulus payments from COVID and Native American tribal relief payments. As you can see below, there is a lot of uncollected fees, both from people that are currently on our roster and people that have passed away. And the reason for that is because we have people that live on $980 a month and they pay their rent and utilities and personal effects, and they don't have any money left over for fees. So we take care of the indigent. There's very little fees left, money left over for fees. The rights that you could lose upon the court finding incapacity. You could lose the right to vote, to drive, the right to decide where to live, how to spend your money or invest your money, the right to take or refuse medications, or to write a will or change an existing will. Regarding the assignment of cases, we base it on the location of the ward. We have a particular case manager. All she does is drive to the valley, so she'll do the valley visits. We have one that does all Payson cases. And so it depends. It could depend on where they live, their gender, or the level of difficulty of the case. Next is the diagnosis chart. And as you can see, a lot of our clients have a dual diagnosis. So in decision making, the general principles are: the fiduciary shall exercise extreme care and diligence when making decisions on behalf of the ward or protected person. The fiduciary shall make all decisions in a manner that promotes the civil rights and liberties of the ward or protected person and maximizes independence and self-reliance. Here are two primary roles for decision making. There's substitute judgment and best interest. Major life decisions for a client. These are just a few decisions that I make daily, weekly, monthly. Do not resuscitate, full code status, life support, the removal of life support, all surgical procedures, marriages and divorces, buying and selling real property, birth control and surgical sterilization, family involvement and interventions, and whether or not to invest and maximize a ward's estate. I have made decisions on all of these over the years. Just in the last week, we've had 2 amputations, 2 blood clots. One person survived a blood clot, the other person did not. So my office is on call 24/7, 365 days a year. And that's basically Laura and I. Referral to county attorney for fraud. We have referred approximately 8 cases through the years to the county attorney's office for fraud when we felt like someone was being financially exploited or abused in some way. Other duties Other case management duties. This is just a fraction of the duties, just so you can get an idea of what we do. So we apply for all the benefits that we believe somebody qualifies for. Long-term care, disability, veterans administration, Social Security. We change their mailing address so we can start receiving all of their mail, go through all of their mail and see if they have life insurance, burial policies, what all their bills are. We secure all their assets and transfer titles. We close all of their bank accounts and put it into a public fiduciary account in their name. We prepare client budgets, inventories, picture inventories, video inventories sometimes, prepare a care plan, advance directives, end of life decisions. With regards to advance directives, those are ongoing and they change from day to day. So you could be a full code status at one moment, and at midnight you get a call from a doctor and you're changing that person to a do not resuscitate. Attend all medical and psychological appointments, selling of property and assets. We are supposed to visit clients no less than every other month, but it usually requires more. We just did a calculation on one particular client, and this year so far we have seen him 39 times. So it just depends on what is the need for that particular person. I'm just going to give you just a couple case examples. Our office was referred on a 76-year-old woman who had a brain tumor behind her left eye, causing significant protrusion and loss of vision. She was a breast cancer survivor and had gone through major surgeries and was adamant she did not want the tumor surgically removed. Even though she had some cognitive deficits, she was able to express her wishes. A Superior Court judge ordered she not be subject to surgery, even though physicians reported the tumor was 100% curable with surgery and chemotherapy. She received palliative care at a skilled nursing facility until she passed away 5 months after our appointment. And that is something that I would take to a judge, and we give him all of the information, and then sometimes a judge will guide us on what direction to go in. The next example is an 80-year-old gentleman living in a remote area of Gila County. He came to the attention of community members when he began to exhibit dementia and paranoia. A fall at his home resulted in hospitalization and rehabilitation at a skilled nursing facility. Due to the poor conditions of his home, no fiduciary in private practice would take this case. Our office became guardian, and after an inventory of the home, we sold the property. So this is my staff and I. We've got our gear on, and we are getting ready to go into this home. So we have to go through all of the contents of the home, and there may have been 10 to 15 boxes, metal containers that had straps of locks on them. And so we had to get all of the locks off of everything, get inside, and most of the time there was nothing in there. So that was treacherous. But as you can see, there's lots of things to go through. This gentleman lived in very, very poor condition, so we were happy that we were able to get him out of this condition. And we literally had to go, I was in this room, go from bottom to top every single inch of that house and make sure there was nothing of value in the home, or something that we had to preserve, or personal papers and effects and stuff like that. Okay, and next we have one last example. The Superior Court requested our office investigate whether there was a continued need for guardianship of a 28-year-old man, because the current guardian had filed for guardianship to be terminated. Our investigation revealed an ongoing need for a representative payee through Social Security to take care of his finances, but that guardianship was too invasive. We made our recommendations to the court, and guardianship was successfully terminated, and the young man's civil rights was restored. So we don't just take on the case because we get a referral. We like to do our due diligence, do the investigation, and make sure we make the right choice for that particular person. There are mandatory reports the fiduciary must file with the court, which include inventory and appraisement, annual guardianship reports to the court, annual accountings, and final accountings, which include the proposed distribution. So we let the courts know all the money that they spent throughout the year, all the income coming in, all the income going out, and then once they pass away, the proposed distribution. Audits. The Public Fiduciary Office is audited by the Social Security Administration, the Arizona Supreme Court, the Gila County Superior Court, the Gila County Finance Department, and the Veterans Administration. This is something that I've had sitting in my office for probably over 20 years, and so I'm just going to read it to you because it kind of makes me chuckle at sometimes. To be a fiduciary, one must be courteous, diplomatic, caring, shrewd, persuasive, assertive, creative, supportive, understanding, responsible, slow to anger, adaptable, a Sherlock Holmes, a motivator, up to date, good looking, have a good memory, acute business judgment, emotional stability, and the embodiment of virtue, but with good working knowledge of sin and evil, all in its forms. A fiduciary must understand insurance, electricity, chemistry, physiology, mechanics, architecture, physics, bookkeeping, banking, merchandising, selling, shipping, contracting, claims adjusting, law, medicine, real estate, horse trading, and human nature. A fiduciary must be a coordinator, a clinician, a coach, a therapist, an educator, and an administrator. A fiduciary must be a mind reader, a hypnotist, an athlete, must be acquainted with machinery of all types, and must know the current price of everything from a shoestring to a skyscraper, an aspirin to an amputation. They must know all, see all, tell nothing, and be everywhere at the same time. They must satisfy the payroll administrator, the accounts department, the inland revenue, the insurance company, the supervisors, the solicitor, the insured, the claimant, the Law Society, and the British Medical Association. Apart from that, our job's a piece of cake. And I'm not all of those, but my staff, they help me with all of those things. So
I'll disagree with that. I know that she is all of that.
So not only do we have the public fiduciary, we run the public fiduciary office, of course, but we also do the indigent burial program for the county. The public fiduciary is charged with the review and approval of all indigent dispositions, requests, and investigation into the legitimacy of each claim. All dispositions are by cremation unless there are religious objections or the deceased is an infant. Indigent disposition was originally intended for the burial or cremation of unclaimed or unidentifiable persons whom, for lack of any other option, would be placed in a specific section of a cemetery. However, most applications are for individuals who have not maintained family contacts and no family member is willing or able to pay the expense of a burial. The public fiduciary is contracted with a private investigator to assist in locating family members. And currently, we have a very good rate considering what other counties pay around the state. We pay $410 for a non-veteran and $560 for a veteran. Gila County authorizes cremation in order to reduce the burden on the funeral homes. In 2023, we received 28 applications and authorized 19. So in the other ones, Laura would have found another source, either a family member to pay for it or another source to pay for that burial. And do you have any questions?
Supervisor Klein. Tiffany, I don't know if I got a question. You know, all along I've kind of realized what you do, but I guess I never realized to the extent you do it. And the only thing I can tell you is Mr. Minlove and us do not pay you enough. So when you're dealing with somebody's life, basically, have you ever had somebody from the family or other parts of the family come back on you for whatever decision that you've made?
Sure, sure. But what we like to do, there's not a lot of family involvement, but when there is, we like to include them. But ultimately, I have to make the decision.
Sure.
So I let the family know they're welcome to go to the court and become the guardian of that person if they're not happy with my decision. But I don't run into that problem very often.
Good deal.
I try to, if there is family involvement, I try to have them be involved in the decision making.
Well, thank you and your staff for everything you do, and it's amazing. So thanks for bringing this up today
welcome.
too. That's good.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. I appreciate you and your staff. The presentation really helped me to understand the magnitude of what a fiduciary does. And actually, my favorite part was the case manager's creed. And I'm not sure any of us can live up to that, but it's quite a paragraph of qualifications. And it is really necessary for you guys to have compassion, patience, all those things when you're dealing with people that have mental issues, or they're combative because they just don't like the fact that they're getting old and they're losing their rights to make decisions because they don't have that capacity anymore. So I appreciate you and your staff.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just have one question. On the sale of, like, the personal property, do you have an auction? I mean, I've never seen anything for sale. So I guess what I'm wondering, and we have probably other people that are wondering, how does that get sold?
We can have an auction. We have had estate sales. Our staff has actually put those on. It depends on the value of the property. Sometimes by the time we get in there, a lot of the contents are ruined, and so it's a matter of just getting any valuables out, getting all personal belongings and paperwork out, and then sometimes we'll sell property as is. It just, every case is different.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I have no questions. I just have praise for all that you guys do. It's amazing. Because the more I'm here, the more you see what Gila County actually offers to the constituents of Gila County. And it's amazing because people complain about the property taxes, but they have no idea what some of the responsibility that staff carries to help people in Gila County. Because I think if they knew, they wouldn't be a bit surprised if we asked for a little bit more money, but we're not. But thank you very much for doing what you do.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Yes.
Mr. Vice Chairman, thank you. I will state that the fiduciary's creed that Miss Tiffany does live up to those of everything that is stated there. She does a great job to it. I'd like to say that this is so often in government, particularly in county government, we are, I think, viewed as restrictive in what we do. That through the court system, our sheriff's office, through planning, zoning, community development, that we're giving permits and doing those things that maintains integrity of the systems that we have and maintain a quality of life. This is one of those things that is completely different, completely opposite of that this is helping those that are most desperately in need of services, those that easily can fall through the cracks, and they're out living in washes and gutters and those kinds of things. Now, Ms. Porch, she does not get to choose her clients or the people that she gets to provide services to. Those are determined by a judge, and the judge is giving to Ms. Porch and her team those that they don't have anybody else, they don't have anything else, they don't have anybody to make a decision for them, to provide anything for them. But as Ms. Porch said, that they're disabled in emotionally, physically, mentally, being disabled in all those different ways. Before a client even comes to Ms. Porch and her team, these are the people that are in the greatest need that we have in our society. And like Ms. Porch said, it is 24/7, but this is a 365-day job that I know that Ms. Porch is getting calls at 2 in the morning on a Sunday or at 3 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. It's every day of the year. And she responds with a smile and willingness that I know few people that could respond and be able to approach what she does with the attitude and the loving nature that she does. And so you and your team are a fabulous example of what a great service that we here as a county that we do provide. It's required, but the way that it's approached and the way the services are given are a great tribute to you and your team, Ms. Ports. And so I express appreciation. And I can't remember if you said that we don't pay you enough. And your whole team, that's absolutely true.
I don't know.
The services that you provide are priceless.
Thank
So
you.
thank you
I appreciate
for all you
it.
do.
Thank you. And I just want to say I have a great staff. They are amazing. They're very caring. They work really, really hard.
Thank you for
Supervisor
all-
Humphrey?
Thank you.
Yes.
Supervisor Humphrey, we have a member of the public here that would like to comment on this item, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Do we have a call to the public? I guess they can go ahead. Do they need to fill out the paperwork? Okay, you need to, yeah, come up to Tiffany. Thank you very much. Whoever you are, if you want to come up to the podium and give your name. And I think that there's a little call to the public paperwork that you need to fill out up there as well. So if someone could be sure that you do that, please come up and share your information.
Mr. Vice Chairman, while the commenter's coming up, I did want to point out that these are people of all ages. It's just not the elderly, that there was a couple examples of elderly. These clients are all ages throughout the spectrum, and they're delivering services to everybody that is in need.
You need your script and everything when you're done.
NIT, can we get that, so I can see the full screen, please? Okay, I can't see if you're there or not, but if you
Yes,
can go ahead.
yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure. My name is Bev Miller, and well, first of all, I did want to alert you that this PA system in Payson is so bad. It was kind of hard for me to understand. The pictures spoke volumes. I really appreciate the work that these people are doing. God bless them. But it would be awfully nice to have a better PA system because we just can't hear very well. I kind of feel disenfranchised. I'm sorry, but it's a political word, but that's kind of how I feel. So that's number one. Number two, what I'd like to ask is, this fiduciary committee they're doing such great work, but have any of the churches ever been alerted? Because this is Christian work they're doing, and I would think that the churches would want to know if one of their flock was in such dire need.
I can
Tiffany, you
just, okay.
No, it's a call to
Just
the
a call.
public, yeah, thank you. Go ahead.
Me?
Yes.
Well, And the second question is, I'd just like to know financially what this is costing the taxpayers.
Okay, well, yeah, at call to the public, we can't say much. I mean, you're welcome to share with the board and staff what you would like to, but we can't really ask questions. We can get with staff to maybe research it some, but yeah, during call to the public, we can't answer your questions.
Yes, so I'd like my question answered in the future, and my contact information, I'm sure the board has.
Okay, yeah, what you can do is reach out to your supervisor individually, and perhaps maybe he can gather some information for you.
Yeah, that's Supervisor Christensen, so he's got my email.
Or you're sitting right there.
So.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, there was a complaint, and I may address the complaint, that the Facilities Department has been charged with working on the audio for the Tommy Klein Martin facility. And so that facilities, we are aware of that, and that issue is being addressed. I know the courts have raised that issue as well, and we are working closely with the courts. We've brought in experts to help us work with that audio system there. So again, we are aware of it, and it is being addressed. Pardon?
I don't know if you heard that.
It's also on YouTube that we're doing that.
Okay. All right. If there's nothing further, then I'm gonna go on. Regular agenda item 3C: information discussion regarding the process of the flood mapping project by the Federal Emergency Management Agency for Gila County. Dort, good morning.
Good morning.
This is a hot subject, so inform us.
Okay, I'm Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm glad to be here to explain this. This has been going on. Oh, okay, thank you. This project's been going on for several years. I think the LiDAR acquisition was the first step of it, and that was started in 2017. We've had some studies on our flood zones that didn't have elevations. We got some of that information. That was started in 2020. Now, early part of this year, we all met with FEMA and went over our wish list for what all needed to be done. And we're really grateful for them to take on Gila County at this time. I know there are a lot of other areas that need the maps updated. We're trying to help people be safe in flood-prone areas. And part of that is helping them to understand and find ways to comply with the regulations that FEMA has put on the flood-prone areas, and we as a county are charged to enforce those regulations for FEMA. And it's been difficult because some of the maps are not very good. They were done with somewhat inaccurate topography to depict the flood hazard areas, and a lot of them were done in the early 80s and haven't been updated. Some areas have, but most haven't. So we got this LiDAR data, which is very accurate, a lot of data points that are the elevation data available in every area that we have it. So now they can come back and represent the real situation as it is now, the state of the rivers, and so on. So this is an update on the process that they're doing. And this is very good for Gila County because they are doing the work, they're contracting things out, they're funding it 100%. And we are getting our wish list so we have an accurate depiction of the flood hazard that people can work with to protect themselves and their property. Let's see. Okay, this is what I was just talking about. And you notice this term base level engineering, and let me explain that a little bit. It's kind of an automated engineering analysis. They use this topographic data and they'll provide delineation of the flood prone areas as well as provide flood elevations that people can protect themselves from. And this is used where there's not an existing detailed study. Okay, a lot of these washes have been studied in detail in the past, and this is not used on them. They do another detailed study to update them. This doesn't take into account all of the little culverts and road crossings and everything that goes in there, but if there's available information, they'll throw it in, but they're not going to go out and survey and so on to find things. So the base level engineering is a little bit less detailed, but quite honestly, it's probably better than some of our old detailed studies, in my opinion. And this in a lot of areas where you don't have a lot of development, it's about the same thing. So this allows FEMA to assess the adequacy of existing flood studies, and provide elevations and increase the accuracy where they don't have any, and also to provide flood mapping in areas where there is none, where it's just it's called a Zone D, which is an area identified as possible but unknown flood hazard, which really doesn't help people a lot, and the flood insurance rates reflect that ambiguity.
Mr. Chair, if I might, Dard, let us all know what LIDAR stands for.
Off the top of my head, I'm drawing a blank, but what it is, it's an aerial technique using lasers and reflecting back off the ground and buildings and whatever to give an elevation at a point. And there, you might have a square yard and be several elevation points in there in some cases. So it's a fairly dense and fairly accurate spot checks we've done with surveys to come very close.
So back in the 80s when they did a bunch of these maps, what did they use then? Was it just your standard GPS type, or was it actual on-the-ground surveying?
Yeah, there's a ground survey.
Okay.
You know, we hope they got their benchmarks right. They created topography that was 4-foot contour intervals, so every 4 feet they knew the elevation, and there's a lot of area in between there that's somewhat inaccurate.
Okay, so using this new LIDAR technology, that gives you all the information from ground level up.
Yeah, and they differentiate between ground elevations and building elevations and vegetation elevations.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. Definition. Okay. LIDAR is an acronym for light detection and ranging. In LIDAR, laser light is sent from a source, a transmitter, and reflected from objects in the scene. The reflected light is detected by the system receiver, and the time of flight is used to develop a distance map of the objects in the scene.
Okay.
So a radar sent to the ground, and that is brought together in an analysis of the topography.
So then it's all done by aerial platforms then?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So they can get a lot more easily and more cheaply than ground surveys, and more accurately sometimes. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Okay, so what these are areas here that they're using the base level engineering on. Water courses that are being studied are represented by these blue lines. So there are a lot of stream miles that are being studied. In fact, 815 miles are slated to be studied through this technique that are not currently mapped by FEMA. So it's a lot of new information that we can provide to our residents to help them protect themselves. And as I mentioned, structures such as bridges and culverts, from readily available information, can be included in this. And in the north part of the county, we also have a lot of areas that are being studied through this base level engineering. Now, also there are new detailed studies, and I believe that all of the areas that are studied by detailed studies now are being updated. I know we have a lot of people that are concerned about the way it's mapped, and there are some areas that really need updating badly. So that's being done. And we'll have 82 new miles of restudies on the detailed hydraulics. Okay, and they're resurveying some structures and looking at as-built plans for bridges and so on, and including all that information in it. This is a list of the restudies that are being done for the detailed studies. And I'm not going to try to read all of those, but it's fairly extensive. Now, part of the work that's being done is to re-look at the hydrology, in other words, the amount of water that's coming down. And this is just preliminary. They're still working on fine-tuning it. But you can see that there is some change. The largest change seems to be in the tributaries to Tonto Creek and Tonto Basin. And they are going up, and they're going down in some areas and going up in others. But they're using updated methodology to get a better handle on the actual 100-year flows that are coming through these washes.
So, Dard, when you're talking about flows, you're talking about when it actually rains and floods, those kind of flows?
Yeah.
So, at any given year, that can change at any given place or location, right?
That's right. What they use for, I mean, and that's what makes it difficult. So, they have decided that they will use a flood that has a 1% chance of occurring in any given year, sometimes referred to as a 100-year flood, and use that for flood protection purposes. And obviously, in any year, you don't know what's going to happen, but that's what Congress decided was a reasonable standard to set flood protection to.
I'll be darned.
So we're using the best available information now to estimate that. A lot of it is due to some research by the U.S. Geological Survey and some equations that will generate can be used to determine the flow rate to use that's been updated since they were originally done.
I don't want to take up too much time on your presentation, but I have another question for you. So besides flow rate, when you measure floodplain, does it come out of the center of the draw or drainage up a certain amount or feet to be considered in a floodplain at whatever level?
Yeah, that's where the hydraulics come in, that analysis, and they'll consider the shape of the water course, and they'll run it through this computer model, and it determines how high the water would have to be to fill up that water course, that channel shape, and how high it would come, and then that's intersected with the ground to determine how far the flood-prone area extends.
So then whether or not a drainage builds up with sediment or washes itself out is a big deciding factor?
That's a moving target. And yes, some stream maintenance does have to be done to take care of debris that washes in and growth that occurs. So yeah, there is a maintenance issue to this to maintain the accurate representation of what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think, you know, from a county standpoint, when I look at a lot of our drainages, and I can use Tunnel Creek for an example, you know, they get so built up with stuff that, and then we can't touch it because of T&E and other factors that causes our floodplains to expand, basically. I guess, would you put it that way?
That does happen, yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Lord.
And there is aggradation, building up of the creek bottom, and degradation, and sometimes it goes up and down over time. And so what we're doing is the best representation we can, knowing that there are oscillations, if you will, of the parameters of the creek. It goes up, down, it grows up in vegetation washes out or burns out or something. It's a dynamic system, but this is an effort to give it the best information that we can estimate.
I really love work sessions. So with that in mind, Dart, if you have somebody that's wanting to build that's right on that edge of a floodplain, what would you say or what would you tell them? Because this year you could be right on the edge, next year you could be 10 feet above it. You know, it's if you're thinking about moving target as far as the streams and the build up and everything in there. So how do we make those decisions, I guess?
Well, that's where this 1% chance comes in. It's a statistical average of representation of what's likely to happen once in 100 years. It may not happen this year, may not happen the next. We may have two of them in adjacent years. But it's a better protection than nothing at all. And we can say that they're reasonably protected. And there are other things also, like if they're right on the creek bank, we have an erosion setback in the ordinance, for example, that requires people to either set back so that it's not likely to get eroded during that time, or lateral erosion of the bank, or to provide bank protection to, if they want to build closer.
I ask these questions because a lot of our prime land is already developed and done. So what we're looking at as far as development that I see in Gila County as a whole is we're looking at a lot of these areas that have been in question due to floodplain issues and other circumstances. So going forward, me personally, I'd like to be able to, you know, when I talk to my constituents, say, hey, you know, this is a new system, it's going to give us better data, and know the system enough to speak about it. And so that's why I like work sessions. I'm glad you're here.
And I appreciate your efforts to help your constituents that way. And I'm always available for questions as well. So, next slide here is what will we receive as a deliverable product out of this effort. And we'll get hydrology, updated flow rates, hydraulics, where we know how deep and how wide the water is going to go, how fast. We have terrain information that we didn't have before. And then floodplain maps will be updated. Now, this current phase of the project will generate information, will generate preliminary flood maps. And sometime mid-2025, they estimate we'll get the information, we'll get the preliminary mapping, we'll get the computer models so that if we want to look at a what if, we can plug in some development, see what effect it has on the flooding. And then after we receive this data, there will be a public comment, review and comment period, and then they'll start actually putting this on the official flood maps and generating them. So it'll be sometime, I don't really have a time estimate. I'm going to guess at least a year or two after we receive the preliminary information, we'll have some flood maps. It could be a little longer.
So, Dart, I'll probably have more questions for you, but anyway, in the 80s, the maps were drawn for floodplains by whatever method it was. And so, like right down through the middle of the globe, I keep hearing there's issues in where the floodplain is drawn.
Yeah, especially Pinal Creek.
Yeah. And so, this, are you telling me that this will correct those issues, or at least put it where it should be?
It should. That's the goal. Okay, they're using updated ground elevation information, updated flow rates, and they should take into account any new culverts or bridges and so on. And yes, it should be a much better representation given the limits of the technology and the variability of the storms, of course. But it should give us updated information and provide a much better target to aim for protecting our property.
Okay, so the feds are doing this. They're doing it. We're in the mix too, as a county.
They're doing it for us.
Okay, and then what we receive, we hand over to like the city of Globe or Miami or whoever it is.
Yeah, all the cities and towns were involved in the meetings with FEMA to determine their needs, and they all are going to be part of these new maps. They'll receive all the information that we receive that's pertinent to them.
Okay.
So it's all public information.
Oh yeah, I'm
hidden
sure it is.
information.
But quite honestly, you'd be amazed at how not so many public pay attention to that, and so until it's happening. So anyway, thanks.
Welcome. This is a list of the expenditures to date for this project. We can see there's about $500,000 for LiDAR, about $100,000 for base level engineering that's done so far, and there's more still in progress, which is included in the next item. $1.2 million to update the detailed studies and BLE studies for areas that are currently not studied. And February 2025, I think I've heard this might be mid-year, but sometime in 2025 they expect to give us that information. This is the overall view of it. We're in the hydrology, hydraulics, floodplain mapping phase of the project now, and then we'll go into the flood insurance rate maps in the next phase. So this will be going on a little while, but it's a big project, but it's very, very beneficial to us. And just a summary of the benefits, the LiDAR elevation, which can be used for many things. This is available also to the public for engineers to use on their projects in the county, and so on. And it's available actually on the USGS website, one of their sites. So better information to help protect property owners to be safe and to protect their property, and to get engineering information defining locations and severity of flooding so that future planning can confirm and quantify severity of suspected flood problem areas and develop priorities for future planning to mitigate these hazards. And that's all I have for a presentation. Are there any other questions from anybody?
Supervisor Klein? Thank you. So, Dard, when back that up one slide, please. The hydrology, hydraulics, floodplain mapping, August 2023 or February 2025. Is FEMA doing that, or are we? Remind me again.
FEMA has contracted an engineer that they work with. It's actually a joint venture of 2 or 3 engineering firms.
Okay.
And they are working with us, asking for input and so on. So it's kind of a joint effort.
So they're not held up because of us right now, though, right?
That's correct.
Cool. So if there's any way we can take a sharp stick and prod them along and hit closer than 25, that would be really good.
Well, I wish there were, but I know they're doing a lot of detailed analysis, and it does take some time.
So this floodplain issue for Gila County is bigger than a lot of people realize. We actually have businesses that are in the floodplain, actually physically, but not mapped in the floodplain, which can qualify for different types of loans and things like that. We have other ones that are outside of the floodplain, considered in the floodplain, that are in a situation where they can't get loans, they can't get grants, they can't get things like that. That's why when people talk about floodplain issues, it isn't just a matter of you pour water down the mountain and it comes out the other end or whatever. It's really the people that are along those drainages and stuff, and because of policy and laws, I guess, there's people out there getting hammered that that don't necessarily need to be. They're not in it. And so because of the 80s maps and what I understand, not only from here but from before, those maps were incorrect when they were done, and it placed a lot of people in some bad spots. And so to be able to get this corrected, in my opinion, the quicker we get it corrected, the better some people are going to be, and the worse some other ones are going to be. I mean, it's not going to be good for everybody all the way around, but at least be correct to where a floodplain should actually be. Is what I would say.
Yes, that's correct, and it affects also flood insurance rates.
Yes, it does.
And affects the ability to get mortgages in floodplains.
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Dard.
A lot of things. I want to just mention, if somebody, there are a couple of locations currently where people are trying to speed it up by doing the study themselves and submitting it to FEMA. They have a process, a letter of map revision. We have one that they're currently processing for Tonto Creek at Bear Flat, and one on the reach of Bloody Tanks Wash that private people have actually paid to have the study done and submit it to FEMA. So that's one option if somebody is in a hurry.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to present this information to you.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Dard. Appreciate it. Very detailed, and there's a lot to that. Appreciate everything you do and your team.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's great that this was initiated. I think it's great that FEMA is doing it, because we've had an awful lot of issues because people are clearly not in a floodplain or wave, but are on the map, because a lot of drainages have changed, and those individuals are doing it because they have to. And so hopefully FEMA, when they get finished, that the people will not have to do their own survey to prove that they're in or out of a floodway. Because now, for insurance purposes and things of that nature, people realize, especially with modern technology, you can check your elevation of your house with your cell phone, and you look at a map and it's completely a different elevation, and so you have to go through the money of hiring a survey and fight FEMA to get it changed. And so I think it's great. I'm glad that the engineering department has sparked with FEMA to get this done for Gila County, because our elevations go from 7,000 down to almost nothing, and we have a lot of drainage issues, and a lot of people are going to be in floodplains that weren't, and out of floodplains that were. And so, like you say, we've got a can of worms to deal with, and then it goes to the insurance companies and, you know, homeowners insurance and things of that nature. But I'm glad that can of worms is open. So thank you very much for your presentation and for working with FEMA to help us, help not only for future infrastructure, but for existing infrastructure that's going to change. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Mr. Minlove?
Mr. Chairman, when I first came here, just a couple months before, the current Board of Supervisors, or at least two of you, were new onto, as newly elected members of the Board of Supervisors. I came to Gila County, saw that there's flood control district, but the question I asked was, there was no property tax for the flood control district. So I asked the question, are there no flood-related issues in Gila County? The respondent paused for a moment, then said, no, there are no issues with flooding in Gila County. So I want to express appreciation to you as a Board of Supervisors, to Mr. Vela, Mr. Dillarack, for taking it serious that there are flooding issues in Gila County, and that you have supported doing this work that is now being done. And so I appreciate that, and it is necessary and important for us to address flooding issues in Gila County. Thank you for your support, members of the board. I do have a question for Mr. Dillarack that you kind of have answered it, but if I can ask specifically, with all the flooding that has taken place, you've said that there's $1.2 million that's being invested in the topography and the LiDAR work that's being done to accurately map all that. We've seen that with the flooding, and you stated that there are changes. Is this something that we need to expect, that we have to continually upgrade these all the time? Or is it once we get these maps completely done in 2025, or as soon as they can be done, is that something we say, okay, we're good for 10 years, or what is the expectation? What should it be? And you mentioned that things change. Do we expect that this is continuous and evolving analysis of our floodways, or should we have the expectation that we're good for 10 years and don't need to do anything further?
There will be a need for continued upgrades. Hopefully, we get upgraded more than every 40 years or so. But every 10 years, like you say, would probably not be unrealistic, given that rivers do naturally change themselves, and there are changes in the watershed, such as the fire we had here. You know, that changed the watershed a lot, and that changes how much water comes down, runs off the watershed. So there are things that just happen naturally that would affect our flood maps and the accuracy of it. So there should be some continuing update, maybe to not every creek all at once, but
Especially after a fire.
especially
Burn
after a fire, we
600,000
wanna look
acres
at
and
it.
see what it does to a community.
Yeah, now, there are temporary things that happen, you know, after a fire, there's some revegetation and so on after a few years. Sometimes the community will look at that and have an interim map developed for their own use that, you know, states what's going to be until it revegetates and gets back to normal. And that's always an option. Usually they don't change the FEMA flood maps for something temporary, but if it's something that's going to have a long-term impact, yes, that's something that might be needed.
Mr. Chairman, if I might. And of course, we did that after the Telegraph fire and all of that. We did have an engineering firm come in and give us what the flow rates were going to be, and so we do address that specifically. But long-term maps, a 10-year and a 10-year, that we should, the fact that we can work to get the long-term maps done every 10 years. Thank you.
Dort, thanks for coming down to do your presentation today. I appreciate you being here and set up there. Thank you very much. Who's in the batter's box? No. Okay, moving on to 3D. Information discussion regarding services provided by the University of Arizona Cooperative Extension to residents of Gila County, and a discussion with Gila County management about services resources provided to the University of Arizona Cooperative Extension. Mr. O'Driscoll, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman,
Still
members
good
of the board. So, at your request, I've put together this presentation, and I've invited the University of Arizona Cooperative Extension to come up and present the services that they provide residents of Gila County. And then after they get done with the presentation, what I'd like to do is just give you an estimate and some of the resources that we provide the University of Arizona Cooperative Extension, so you get the complete picture, what they provide the residents and what we provide the university. So I see Mr. Edward Martin is here with his team, and I'd like to invite him up and go ahead and start the presentation.
Thank you very much. My name is Ed Martin. I am the Associate Vice President and Director of Cooperative Extension for the University of Arizona. I have with me here today my CFO, Carolyn Greeno, as well as Renee Karsten, who's the County Extension Director for Gila County, and Mr. Clark Richens and Sammy Jenkins, advisory board members that actually you have appointed and approved by the board. So what I want to talk to you a little bit today about is the question was, where's our money going to for cooperative extension for Gila County? And for those of you who may or may not know, we've been working in Gila County and actually in Arizona for over 100 years, and we take the University of Arizona to the communities throughout the state. We bring research-based education to the communities and provide knowledge to help improve the lives of the citizens of Arizona. We have 25 offices. We have an office in every 15 counties. We also have 4 satellite offices. Several counties have 2 offices, as you do here. We have 6 tribal offices, and we have agricultural centers, but we also do cooperative extension work on it. What do? We're educators. We teach. We have classes. We have seminars. We teach on the range. We teach in the field. We have in the meeting halls, in the classrooms. We give public presentations. We have regular newspaper columns and stories on the radio and on TV. We publish reliable, research-based information on the World Wide Web, which is more needed today than ever. And all of this is through research-based education. What do we do specifically in Gila County? Well, we work with the agricultural community. We work with the ranchers in Gila County. We work with youth through our Positive Youth 4-H development program. Yes, these are the folks you see at the fair, the kids that show the animals and the kids that have the general projects. I can tell you that some of my favorite times are when I go to county fairs and get to work with our 4-H, and I take a deep breath and I say, our future's okay. These kids are doing all right. We're going to be okay. Financial literacy, one of the highest stressors of families in the United States is finances. We work with families on financial literacy, teaching them about loans. Even had a daughter of my own say, they got a credit card and said, they want me to pay it all back. And I said, yeah, you got to pay it all back now. They're charging me extra. I didn't know that. I thought for sure I had taught her about that. Positive parenting, talking about parenting and making sure that we're parenting in the right way with our kids and all of the challenges that we have nowadays. Health and nutrition. It's a huge part of our program, not only in Gila County, but throughout the state, keeping people healthy, teaching them about nutrition. We teach them how to grow the food. We're going to teach them now how to cook the food and teach them what the food can do for them, food that you could eat that can reduce inflammation, eating with diabetes. We're even going to teach you how to store the food, so when you have a little backyard garden, Lord knows we've all had that zucchini plant, and we had so much zucchini that the people on the street don't want any more zucchini bread, and they thank you for that offer. Well, how do you preserve that zucchini? What do you do? Do you freeze it? Do you cook it? Do you blanch it? What can you do? Can you can it? And we work with community and home gardens. We work with folks that are working in, having a community garden where people can go out and grow their own, and also for home gardening. I myself am a transplant, I'll admit it. I came from Michigan, 1992. Came out here in Arizona. They interviewed me in November. Thought this was the best place in sliced bread coming from Michigan. They started me July 1st. It was so hot I couldn't believe it. But I stayed here for over 30 years now. And so we teach people, yeah, these are the plants you should be planting. These are the places you should plant it. Yes, you can buy it at the Home Depot. Yes, you can buy that plant, but guess what? It's not going to grow here. It's not going to grow well. This is what you need. This needs full sunlight. This needs partial sunlight. How do you get that home garden? Ag Natural Resource Programs. We have the Master Gardener Program. That's a program that's a huge program across the state. Volunteers that really help expand our capacity, increase our capacity to teach folks. Working both with youth and adults. Forest Health, we work with that, and biochar. Looking at using biochar for fertilizer and other uses in our horticulture program. Reading the range. We've been working very, very closely with the Forest Service. We just had a brand new agreement with the Prescott National Forest on reading the range and agreeing on what is the capacity for our allotments for the National Forest for our ranchers. It's a huge part of what we do. We have livestock producer workshops. We have AI workshops for them. We work very closely with Natural Resource Conservation Service as well as the FSA, making sure that our ranchers know what's available, the programs that are available, how to apply it to them, where to go to. 4-H Youth Development has all kinds of programs for all of the kids. Not only do you have to, not only can you raise an animal if you want and sell it at the fair, yes, we still do that, but there's other programs. There's programs in civic engagement. We have camp. We have community service that you can do, healthy living, STEAM programs, all types of programs. We even have a program now where we're using 3D printers. And they're learning how to do coding. And they're learning how to do robotics. So a lot of opportunities for kids. We do have tribal extension here in Gila County, in San Carlos. I can tell you this right now, your money does not go towards that. That's a FERTEP program, federally recognized tribal extension program, and is funded through the federal government. Do we help them out? Sure we do. They have a program, they need an extra person to come out and help with the 4-H program. Yeah, we'll send somebody else to help them out, but they have their own agent. Their own agent is the one who does the programming. They work with us directly. Health, wellness, and family programs, very strong. Raising resilient youth. Once again, talking about community health fairs and things like that. Teaching people how to eat healthy. Teaching kids how to eat healthy. One of the nicest things is when you teach the child how to eat healthy, how they take that back to the parents and say, "Oh, we shouldn't have to cook it that way. I want a carrot. I don't want a candy bar." And where are we in Gila County? We're at 3 places, right? We're in Payson, we're here in Globe, and then of course we're in San Carlos. So we have 3 offices. You help support 2 of those offices. How do you support? Well, I kind of put this out. I really wasn't sure what your cash and in-kind contributions are. And what I did is I compared it to what our expenditures are for the state. So I'm looking at per one, if it was $100,000, and right now we are asking for $70,000 in cash, and then Mr. O'Driscoll will address the in-kind, but you know, we spend about $425,000 in our direct state budget. It's a 1 to 4.3. I can tell you this, if we took into account, which I did not take into account in this, if we took into account the grants that we get, that number doubles, and you're looking at 1 to 8. We get over $400,000 of grants in Gila County from our faculty and agents that work here in Gila County that you help support, that they then go out and they hire people, and those people pay taxes, and those people live here in Gila County, and they buy things from the local grocery stores, and they then also buy things for their grants. Now, I didn't include that because some years it's $400,000, some years it's $300,000, sometimes it's $600,000. I didn't want to include that. I wanted to be conservative to just let you know. If you're looking at $150,000, which I think we'll find out is probably closer to your cash and in-kind, you know, you're still looking at 1 to 2.2. This year it's probably closer to 1 to 4.4, and then 200,000 as well. The key here is that for every dollar you put in to cooperative extension, direct return of investment into the economy of Gila County is great. It's not a 1 to 1, it's at least a 1 to 2, and it's probably closer to a 1 to 4. Needs assessment. We did a needs assessment across the state. We did a needs assessment not only here in Gila County, but in every single county across the state. And across the state, everyone overall said water's number 1, water conservation, water quality, that's our biggest need. But here in Gila County wanted retention of qualified teachers was one of your highest issues, priority issues that you want us to address. We have programs in our 4-H which actually deliver to the teachers in the schools curriculum that's already set up for the state standards. So here it is in a box, in a folder. You can put it together. Talks about agriculture, talks about leadership. You can use this right in your classroom. Preventing child abuse, and even number 4, preventing domestic violence. I'm not sure. How does cooperative extension fit there? Well, you know, we're going back to that positive parenting and that financial literacy. Those are the stressors in families, and stressed families abuse children. Stressed families have domestic violence. If we can reduce the stressors in our families, we can reduce both of those. And preparing for wildfires. That was a big one here, of course. And that, of course, is the Fire Ice program that we have and that we talk about. And we talk about preventative spaces. We are looking right now, working with NAU to hire one of their folks to help us with that and to start a new program for us. We work in cooperation and in partnership with Gila County. Cooperative extension, cooperative, federal government, state government, county government. We count on your support day in and day out. We need your support. We need your support not only to provide buildings for us to operate out, but also support for us for operations. I want to thank you all for helping us improve the lives in the communities and economies across this county. And I want you to also think about the functional impacts that we have. The impacts that we have that I can't put up there in dollars and cents. The 4-H kids that are twice as likely to give back to the community because they're in 4-H. The 4-H kids that are 3 times as much not to use and abuse drugs because they're in 4-H. The folks that called up Cooperative Extension after the telegraph fire and said, listen, we need some help. I got cattle. I got no feed. Do you know someone you can call? Yeah, we can call someone. And we called someone called someone else. Did I deliver alfalfa to those folks? No, I didn't. Did we make the connections? We sure did. And then when you needed fencing, someone who's been working on fencing called us up and said, listen, we've been trying to get this grant from the Forest Service for fencing. We can't figure it out. Can you do it? Can Cooperative Extension U of A do it? Within a month, we had the grant. Representative Cook called us up and said, how the heck did you guys get it so fast? And we said, because we have sponsor projects and we know the numbers and we know how to do it through the federal government. And now we're putting up fencing that was burnt down. So we're here to do things like that. We're keeping people out of your healthcare system because they're eating better, because they're learning about it. So there's all those other things that are intangible. I can't quantify it. I wish I could make it easier, and I could tell you that we're saving millions in healthcare costs and what have you. But I can tell you that we're having an impact, and we're having an impact because we're all working together. We're all working together as part of the team, and it's the team in Gila County as well as the team in Maricopa County as well as the team across the state, and we're here to help you. So that's where your money's going. And just as a final note, and I know you've heard a lot of news about the U of A and the deficit. Cooperative Extension funds cannot go towards the deficit at the University of Arizona. Not only, especially county funds, but even state funds are not allowed to be used for that. State funds can only be used for cooperative extension. And your county funds can only be used not only for cooperative extension, can only be used for Gila County cooperative extension. So I can't borrow from Gila County in case Greenlee County needs a few $1,000. It all stays in your communities in those counties. So once again, I appreciate the support that you all give us. We really, truly do hope that we can continue this, and hopefully you have seen over the years the impacts that we have had in Gila County through cooperative extension at the University of Arizona. So thank you so very much.
I thank you. Hold on. Supervisor Klein, do you have any questions?
I do, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, can you tell me, or do you have any idea when the U of A really became active in Gila County back in the day? How long has U of A been?
So cooperative extension's been in existence since 1914.
Okay.
So that's when it was official that the land grant university, which the University of Arizona is, will have cooperative extension, and we started extension offices in all of the counties. So it'd be 1914, so we're coming up on a little over close to 110 years now.
I know for all of my time in Gila County, this is the only place I've lived, but U of A has always been a part of Gila County through all the years growing up. And of course, I grew up on several different ranches and seen the impacts there, whether or not it was monitoring issues or dealing with the feds or whatever it was. U of A was always in the middle of it with us, and the data it provided and everything has always been a big help. The 4-H program for all these years, even back when when I was a kid, it was huge. 4-H was back then too, just from the animal standpoint, kids raising animals and stuff like that. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Martin, for the presentation. I think that the U of A does a great job in Gila County, and we need to keep building on that. I do have a couple of questions. The reading the range, all the stuff that you listed is all very vital to Gila County, and then we're going to actually, I think, try and expand the shooting sports part of the 4-H up here in the northern part of Gila County. And so it's all really great. Now, I have a question. Maybe this is something that Michael's going to deal with in the next discussion. But when you said that all of the county contributions that we give, so we have $70,000 we normally give to the cooperative extension. There seems to be this year a fee of 26% to give that, and you said that all the money stays in Gila County, but I'm really unclear about how that works and why that's a new thing.
So
that's $18,000.
Right. If I may, sir, so the difference is that in the past, we have had a single-page agreement, which basically had stated that Gila County will supply this amount of cash in support of cooperative extension, and in return, cooperative extension will operate in Gila County. And it's a single page, and basically the county would send a check and it would be deposited. This year, the county has requested an IGA, an intergovernmental agreement. As soon as we do that, that means that we have to include what we call sponsored projects, which is like the grant. And so it is treated as a grant, no longer a direct deposit or direct support of cooperative extension. All grants must go through sponsored projects. Since we are off campus, not on campus, our rate is 26% of indirect that the university would charge any other agency, any other entity in order to do business. If we were on campus, it'd be 53 or some odd percent. So what we have done is we have this, if you want to call it workaround, we have grandfathered it in. The folks at the university said, okay, we'll let you do that. So the counties basically signed this one page that they will give us whatever the amount is for each county and send us a check, and the university does not take a red cent. So because this year you're changing to an IGA, that's where we're losing the 26%.
Okay, so I caught most of that. Like we said before, the speaker up here is a little garbly.
Correct.
So, Mr. Martin, did you say that you're doing a workaround?
We actually have been for the past, I don't know how many years, Carolyn, but 30 years had this, what we call workaround. And that workaround is that you just sign an agreement saying you support cooperative extension, and here is the amount. This year, you have asked that we have an IGA, an agreement, which is forcing us to go through the sponsored projects. So we've had that before. I understand from Mr. Menlove that there is a reason why this is happening this year, and so he probably can better explain the reason why. But yes, in the past we have had a simple agreement that you sign, we sign, and there is no indirect cost associated.
Okay, I appreciate that answer, and so I just wanted to let you know that yes, the IGA was recommended by our legal team, and it may affect the I guess the idea of continuing our funding. I don't know if it will or not, but $18,200 just gets skimmed off the top because it's a different category. It's a grant now.
Right.
And so anyway, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
do you want to go first, or you want to wait?
Go ahead.
Okay. How do you work with the other counties? Do they have a process like what we've been working under all these years, or have they got you guys rolled into an IGA?
Oh no, none of the other counties have IGAs.
So
all the other counties now have the same process. So the way I was the county extension director for Maricopa County. So every year, in January, I would meet with the county supervisors. I give them my plan of work, what I plan to do next year. They talk to me, oh, I think we need to do this, we need to do that, sounds good. And then they basically would sign and give me, and the money would be sent over. The next January, we'd look and say, this is what you promised that you did. How did you do? We did pretty good. I missed on this one. Let's work harder this year. And that's how we've worked year in and year out. So all the other counties, we do not have this issue.
okay. So if we enter an IGA with you, that kicks it into this other grant
Correct.
thing. Is that by policy of U of A?
Yes.
Can it be waived?
Only if you have something on your website that states that, or in your policies that states that you do not pay any indirect costs for any grants. So if you pay no indirect costs to any grants, or if you have some limit, and you have it written down somewhere that's on the website or publicly available that people can look up, we can ask for an exception. But it still would be whatever that amount is.
Because I'm not speaking for Supervisor Christensen, but for me personally, I don't like seeing the 18% go anywhere but on the ground.
I hear you.
So,
No, I agree. Yeah, if I may speak quite a little freely, the other option could be that instead of giving us yearly, every 6 months, that you send us, we signed an agreement with you that, and so it's split up so that it's not a full 70,000 all at one time.
does that change the 18%?
It doesn't change the 18%, but it might change the requirement from the county to have an IGA. And once again, only the county can answer that.
That's getting, yeah.
That's going to be
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Klein, what that does is it brings it below 50,000, which enables the county manager to sign this agreement, which in that case does not go through legal because it's below a certain threshold. And in that case, not going through legal, I can sign it and send them the 35,000 every 6 months or something like that. So that's a technicality that's within Gila County's policies.
Which would work for us because we only charge every quarter anyway.
Okay, just a second.
Yes,
Just
sir.
give,
Members of the board, so yes, we do have that technicality where it's not coming legal. However, in this situation, it has already been presented to the county attorney's office. We do have Arizona revised statute 11-952, which talks about two public entities joining in a contractual agreement. In that statute, it does indicate the requirements of an agreement that needs to be listed out. One of the requirements is that it does need to go through legal. So that would be a choice of the board if they want to utilize that process. But also for U of A's knowledge, it should be reviewed by an attorney and approved as to form. I'm not sure if they would have the ability to do that if the actual IGA does not comply with the statute.
I don't know that I know the answer to that.
hello, work sessions. A lot of things come out, a lot of visiting gets
right.
done. I appreciate your presentation very much. I appreciate all that you do for us. I'm certain, in my opinion, we'll continue working together. I'm just not sure how,
Okay.
because I think it's a great thing for all of us. And so I appreciate your presentation very much, and I believe here, go ahead, Mr. Minlow.
Mr. Chairman, I want to reiterate from an admin point of view, I know that the board has spoken to you that you support the cooperative extension and the work they do in Gila County. So there's not any question of that, and all that you do, all that you bring, and all of the work that you've described, that is appreciated, and it is a great benefit to Gila County. There's no question of that as far as I'm concerned and the team. It's this IGA and stuff like that, the technicalities that are in law that we are trying to address, where these questions have come up. And I think you're getting to it, Mr. Chairman, but Michael did have some additional information to present.
Yeah, I know he did. he introduced and sat down. So I appreciate it very much. And if it stirs something after Mr. O'Driscoll gives his presentation, you're more than welcome to come back up.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And so thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I'll be brief. So in order to get a bigger financial picture of what Gila County provides, the cooperative extension, what I did is I worked with our facilities team and Hamero and the fleet team to sort of collect some of the resources that we provide the cooperative extension. So the big majority of the resources we provide are at the two locations, one in Central Heights, the office buildings out there, and then up in Payson. And then we calculated an estimate. This is just an estimate of an annual total cost in rent, water, sewer, trash, parking spaces, those kinds of things. Comes up, but for a total for both of those locations is about $80,000 a year. If you add up all of that, and that's just a rough estimate. We didn't really get down in the weeds too much with that. And also Fleet does provide and maintain the University of Arizona's vehicles. But Namero did let me know that currently Fleet is billing them full cost for labor and parts. The hourly labor cost includes the labor and load as well. So they're maintaining it, but they're also billing the University of Arizona for those costs. So we did not include costs such as sometimes our facilities, personnel assist the University of Arizona, putting together furniture, those kinds of things. I sort of left that out because that wasn't a big part of some of the resources we provide. The rent and the utilities are the major part. So it's about 80,000. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead, Supervisor Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Michael, I think for me personally is, you know, knowing that that would be a cost that we have out there that we provide. Personally, the benefit that we get back from the U of A and for what it's done for Gila County through all the years up to currently and what it's going to do in the future, I think is a cheap price. And that's where I'm at. It's if anything, what they've done already just in one part of it, well, two parts of it, 4-H program and the Reading the Range program is absolutely huge for this county. And the way it went and what it has saved our constituents that are in those areas is, I don't know how you'd put a value on it. So when I look at if it costs us $80,000 to support somebody that works with our constituents like they have done for all these years and continue to do, I personally look at that as a non-issue to me. Now, if it has something to do with the audits that we've had in the past, I don't mind showing it, but I would never want to charge it. You know, we can show it as contributed or however we need to do it to show that this is what we're doing. But I would never want to see that money coming back to us out of the U of A. I just don't think, you know, Mr. Martin talked and he's absolutely right. You can't, I don't know where you'd even start to put a value on the help for our constituents that the U of A has been through all these years. And so that's where I would set on all this. I look at the U of A and always have as a huge partner, you know, especially to the agriculture side of things, which I am. Kids in 4-H programs, all of that, NRCD stuff, the whole 9 yards. U of A has always been kind of right there behind us all, if not in front. And so I think when it comes to space, rent, however you want to do it, I don't want to ever see us have to take a dollar from these folks. I don't mind showing that it's contributed, but I don't want to ever see us take a dollar from that. So that would be my 2 cents worth. Thank you, Michael.
You betcha.
Thank you. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Michael. Kind of a sticky thing. So Mr. Martin said that none of the other counties are doing IGAs. So I guess my only concern is before this ever comes to a vote before us, that there would be an exploration by staff to see whether or not there is something else that we could look at and just go from there. But I also agree very much that this is a very needed program and benefits Gila County tremendously. Thank you.
Okay, my 2 cents. When I stepped in as supervisor, there was a lot of policies and procedures that were not on the level. We were 7 years behind in our state audits, which kept us away from a lot of grants and things. We've done a lot of work to catch up our audits, our staff has. We've done a lot of work to step up where our policies and procedures are above board. I understand all that's being done for us. I appreciate it very much. And if staff and legal thinks that an IGA is important, then that's something that we need to work out with staff. And as far as costs and things, I understand there's no way to put costs on the benefits that we get, but we also have to remain legal and we have to remain level with our audits for the benefits of us and to keep ourselves out of lawsuits for our general public. And so I appreciate this work session, and I know that staff will work and bringing up the fact that we could do it differently and stay away from an IGA. Well, now the legal team is already looking at this, and so, you know, we do not want to leave our backsides open either. And so I appreciate everything that's being done with the what you provide us with, and I appreciate what staff's doing, and I'm grateful for this work session, so you're able to come and present to us, and I appreciate the work that staff has put in to different costs and things to help us make a better decision as we sat with our attorneys and our accountants, and to make sure that we continue our good work, but it benefits all of us, and that we're not doing something that might not be completely above board. Whether the other counties do it or don't do it, we do things that other counties don't. So it's whatever your county attorney will support you in is what you're recommended to do. And so I appreciate this work session and all the input of this work session. And I guess, Mr. Minlove, did you have something to add on this one?
Just based on your input, what I would do is I can reach out to the Auditor General's office and pose this question. It's not like, well, do we want to open ourselves up to the Auditor General? Well, they know. And to say, how are you addressing this, and what is your recommendation? Based on their recommendation of covering all counties, all 15 counties for the state, what would their recommendation be? And try to get their input so I can bring that back to you as a board and say, this is what the Auditor General is telling us to do, that we can work with the county attorney's office and the Auditor General's office and bring that information to you as a board, if that would be acceptable next step for us as a county.
We can only make decisions on the information that we receive. Yeah. So the more, the better information that we receive, we can have better decisions made from it. Jessica, please.
Vice Chair, members of the board. So if it was broken down into semesters, I just want to clarify that it would go through the county manager. It would not require approval as to form by myself. I've already provided my recommendation, so at that point it would bypass the county attorney's office, and so therefore you would just be looking at the recommendation of the auditor.
Yes, thank you very much. So you know, these work sessions are to give us all guidance, and I believe with the discussions today that we have guidance to go forward. So if there's nothing else, Supervisor Klein.
That brought up a question for me, James. You know, in the years past, as we're going through these audits, and what Supervisor Humphrey said about our audits were true. We're way behind. Is a huge nightmare for our staff. But was there ever anything said about the way we were supporting U of A through any of these audits? I mean, or do you think they just didn't see it, or I mean, they went through everything with a pretty fine-tooth comb for the most part.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Klein, as a recovering auditor myself, I really can't speak for the auditor, but I am going to make a comment that the issues with Gila County were so big that you want to get to the point where Gila County is auditable, meaning that they can actually come in and perform an audit, make a declaration on whether our financial statements are accurate and truthfully presented. And that is their intent. Until they get to that point where they can take a look at our financial position as a whole, the other stuff it's always relevant, but you can only bite off so much of the elephant at a time. And so as you correct and get things better, some of these other things that may not have come to the surface, they do so. And so we're at that point, we are caught up. Thank you, Maren and team. But we're caught up. And so they are digging deeper. And I've have many discussions with Maren about that they are digging deeper, and they are looking at individual transactions such as this to determine, is everything according to law, like Jessica said? Is everything clear and evident in our financial statement, that everything is disclosed as it should be? And that's where these issues are now coming up, because we have improved so much in our financial reporting in Gila County. Does that answer your question?
It did. Not quite the answer I was wanting, but it did. Yeah, thank you, James.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll move forward. Michael, thank you very much for all your investigation.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the University of Arizona Cooperative team for coming up here and taking the time for the presentation. They've been extremely helpful working with them to provide the information to you. So I want to thank them personally.
Yeah, I have a lot of public meetings, and it's great to get everybody in a room, because things come up in discussions that wouldn't come up otherwise, that can help an outcome change. So I appreciate your willingness to come to a work session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Michael, thank you. Okay. Moving on to E. Information discussion regarding library services that are provided to community members in Gila County, and how the Gila County Library District facilitates.
Did I misspell it?
No, facilitates these services. Elaine, thank you very much. No, I was making sure I didn't mess
I
up.
could have, trust me.
I didn't make. Yeah. You're good.
All right, thank you, Chairman Christensen, Vice Chairman Humphrey, and Supervisor Klein. I'm here today to provide you with information on the Gila County Library District, our 7 affiliates, 1 branch, and the free services and resources we have to offer our community. So Gila County Library District partners with libraries in Gila County, and we have 1 branch. Like everything else, we're divided from north to south. We've got 4 libraries in the north, which is Payson, Isabel Hunt, which is the Pine Library, Tono Basin, and Young. And in the south, we have Globe, Miami, San Carlos, and Hayden. And we have a new partnership with the San Carlos Library and the San Carlos Apache College. We just recently moved in to the same facility with them. Our old building was, been out there, condemned. It's been condemned. The last rain they had, the light fixtures fell down. So I was really glad that we were out of the building. And we had a grand opening the middle of October. And we are currently and have been doing, adding the collection for the college into our database with the rest of our public collections. So you can look and see what collection they have along with all of our public library collections. All right, libraries are more than books. They foster community through programming and activities. Libraries work hard to provide free activities and programming for their patrons to come together, to learn, and have fun in a healthy and safe environment. Libraries continue to partner and collaborate with other organizations and entities. They regularly partner with other entities to promote health, wellness, and information that benefits the patrons and communities they serve. There's free access to technology such as computers, printing, faxing, scanning, free Wi-Fi 24/7, and digital resources such as our ebooks, our audiobooks, and much more. Librarians and staff are there to help direct and assist you to find resources that fit your needs. And most importantly, they provide a safe space for everyone who enters their doors. The Gila County Library District partners with each library to provide computer workstations for the library. These workstations are connected to the internet, as well as to our ebooks, our databases, and our resources. And computers are available to all ages, including children. We hope that the little guys that come in, parents are available to help them and learn to use the computers appropriately. We are also SIPA compliant, which is the Children's Internet Protection Act. And as you all know, we now have internet, fiber internet, to all of our libraries and schools in Gila County. The last connection was completed in Hayden, the 1st of June of this year. Hurrah, hurrah. big accomplishment. The Gila County Library District understands the importance of early literacy. Public libraries across America have adopted the concept of talking, singing, reading, writing, and playing through the Every Child Ready to Read initiative. This program was created by the Public Library Association and the Association for Library Services to Children. Through their early literacy programs, the Gila County Libraries promote and insert these concepts into their story times and activities for children. Additionally, during these programs, parents are instructed on simple, free, and fun activities to help prepare their children for school. Oops, I went the wrong way. The next we have is the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, and through a partnership with the First Things First, we provide a free book for all children that are residents of Gila County from birth to age 5. They receive one book in the mail each month until they turn 5. If they've started the program when they were a baby, when they were first born, they have about 60 books in their private library at home. And these are all age-appropriate books that as they grow and get a little bit older, so do the books. And this really cool thing is that the books are actually addressed to the child and not the parent. So that's an awesome thing. A lot of the kids are just waiting every month for that mailman to come and bring them their book. Ways to sign up for the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. We do have access online. You can do it online. You can grab a brochure at any of the libraries and mail it in, give it back to the library, or you can call our office and we can get you signed up on the phone. So our Act 1 Culture Passes are in the library. The Act 1 Culture Pass will give you and one guest free entry into any of our participating sites. And as you can see, we've got a few examples up there. The Reed Park in Tucson, we've got the Desert Botanical Garden, the Cave Creek Museum, just to name a few. These passes are available for checkout in the libraries only, but you can visit our website and check the availability in your library. There's a total of 19 organizations that you can choose from. And as always and everywhere, there are a few rules. You must have a current library card. You can't put holds on the passes. You have to go into the library, and what they have available that day is what you can check out. And you can only check out one culture pass per library card every 7 days. And I will mention that this is actually Act 1's policies, not just our library policies. So to learn more, you can always call the library, or again, you can always look on our website. So we have two different kinds of cards, and what's the difference? Well, our first one is our e-resource card, and this gives you digital access to all of our things online, including ebooks, e-audio, magazines, and all of our databases that we have. You just simply can go online, fill out the application, and you can get your card, and we'll get it sent to you and give you the number on the through an email that you can do. A full access card is actually one that you have to go into the library to get. You have to prove residency, and it gives you access to absolutely everything that we've got, including what the e-resource card does. So you can check out books, magazines, DVDs. You can use the computers, but you do need to go to the library and prove your residency for those cards. The Gila County Library District provides you with access to a wide selection of books. By visiting our OPACs on the website, you can reserve and check out books online from any of our 8 libraries and pick them up at your preferred location. That's what we call, if you are looking for a book, you're here in Globe and you found it in Payson, you don't have to drive all the way to Payson. You can put it on reserve. It's called interlibrary loan. And I get to be the red bag courier, so I get to bring the book from Payson back to Globe. So it's a service that we use a lot. People use it a lot in the libraries. If you're not at your desk, you can use your e-device, any of your applications, your phone, and download our Librista app, and you can do all that on your phone just as well. We also have a wonderful collection of ebooks, e-audio, and e-magazines that you can access via our catalog, through the Overdrive site, or through the app. If you're an e-reader and you love listening to audiobooks, and I do that since I drive enough, I constantly have an audiobook in the car. You could download it onto your device and take it with you wherever you go. And if you look up on the right-hand part of the list, we have what we buy through Overdrive with our own funding, but we also have an agreement with our partner libraries within the state that if you find a book that you want, say at the Tempe Library, and as long as it's available, you can download their copy and read it as well. The only difference is that you can't put anything on hold from another library. You can only do that from ours. We have many digital resources, and Gale is an online learning database with a lot to offer adults and children. It's both a tool and a resource for the academic, the high schooler, the elementary school student, the mechanic, the student, the parent, or anyone for additional learning resources. There are peer-reviewed articles, full-text magazine and newspapers, primary sources, videos, and podcasts. So one that might be of interest to some of you is if any of you are car mechanics and you kind of remember, and I'm dating myself, back in the day when you had to go to the library and get the Chilton's mechanic books. Remember those guys? They were big, they were bulky, and they were expensive to buy for the libraries. Well, now that's all online. So the only difference between that and going to YouTube for that information is you can get the schematics that you're looking for. If it's a wiring schematic or something, you can get that on Chilton online instead of going and trying to hunt for it on YouTube. So that's just a couple of the things that we have with our databases, and you can see lots of other additional things up there as well. One of them that I'm really excited about is called Learning Express, and it's a great resource for the elementary, high school, college students, and adults. The Learning Express library can help you pursue your GED, providing practice tests, tutorials, ebooks, study interactives in language arts, math, science, and social studies. And I had a great conversation with actually someone at the library yesterday. Her son was doing the GED testing through the county, and he's passed all of his courses but math. And he's had a horrible time in math. So she actually went on to Learning Express yesterday and thought, I'm going to take that test and see if I can pass it. She's been out of school for quite some time. And she said, I just barely passed it. She says, but at least I look to see what he's looking at, what he needs to know, and the tutorials that I'm going to show him to help him go over the things that he's having problems with. So great 24/7 access, free for the library card. The additional things in Learning Express are career preparation courses for people stepping into the workforce, information on different career fields, job searches, workplace skills, helping to prepare for these exams, additional help for those seeking certificates in allied health, CDL, cosmetology, law enforcement, real estate, teaching, and more. And just a reminder, and this is kind of what the website page looks like, if you are trying to go back into the work field and you haven't been in the work field for a while and you need some computer skills, this is a great place to go and brush up on Microsoft Word, Excel, or if there's a new, you've just got a new update on your computer of the newest Excel program. Go here and you can learn about some of the changes that from one Excel that you know to the next. So great information here. Just remember that none of these are the actual tests themselves. They're tests to help you prepare for that big test. And we have Britannica Library online. Remember those big Britannica books that we used to buy that took up a lot of room? It's now online. It's for children, for teens, and for adults. All kinds of different, same information that's in the actual book itself, but it's all online and it's easier to find. You don't have to go to that index in that big old book and try to find which page do I need, which book do I need to go to. You pull it up, and if you're looking for geckos, you pull it up and it's just right there. So much more information and so much easier, and it's a safe space for our kids. One of the last ones I want to talk about is Ancestry. Ancestry, if you are trying to do some of your history of your family, if you go to Ancestry, it is very expensive to buy online with your library card in the library. This is one of them, the only one that you actually have to be in the library, but you can do all of your searching on Ancestry for free in the library. So a great, great resource. Again, it's the only one that is in the library. You can't do it remotely. I apologize, but that's the way they do it. That's how they got us. And the last one is Pronunciator. This is where you can learn your languages. If you're going to Thailand and you want to learn some Thai, download it on your phone, take it with you when you're in the car traveling, and learn your language for free. All right. So let's change our focus now to a little bit about what the library district specifically does. How does the library district work in relation to our 8 libraries? So 7 of our 8 libraries are affiliates. That means they're run by their city, town, or library board. Hayden Library is our only branch, and the library district oversees the day-to-day running of that library. The library district receives funds through a secondary tax levy. Those funds are divided between the library service agreements, which is direct funding to each of those libraries. Then we also provide funding for connectivity, E-rate expenses, shared databases, our integrated library system, licensing, and staff training. Connectivity includes computers, printers, firewalls, security, all that kind of fun stuff. And databases include all the stuff that I just talked about, including Ancestry, Pronunciator, Learning Express, and Overdrive. Now our ILS system, which is the Integrated Library System, is the database that we use to keep track of our collections at each of the libraries and our patrons and the basic check-in and check-out. And then licensing includes wireless printing, website management, movie licensing, Overdrive, and then the ILS system as well. So we have been doing some new rebranding of the library, and we have a new library website. There we go. And if you've ever looked at our website in the past, it was boring. This one is much nicer to look at, much easier to maneuver around, better information on it. As you can see on the top right-hand corner, it says apply for a library card. That's the e-resource card. You just go in and you fill out the form. Easy peasy, done. If you wanted to, and the next one over to that where it says catalog login, with your library card, you can go in there, log into your account, find out what books you've got checked out, when they're due, and if you forgot to bring your DVDs back, you might have a little bit of a fine, but that's the only fine you might have. If you're just in general wanting to search to see if we have any of the specific book or an item or a DVD, you can just hit that search the catalog. Now, if you look kind of down in the middle, you'll see where it says Act 1 Culture Pass. That's what we spoke about. Go ahead and click on that, that'd be great. And that shows you all of the passes that, scroll down a little bit, perfect. That shows you all of the passes that we've got. It tells you, if you click on any one of them, it'll give you where they're at, their address, their hours, their contact information. So lots and lots of good information on that for the culture passes, for instance. Home again. And scroll down a little bit. Keep going. So this gives us an idea of our library hours and their closures for the holidays. Once more. Keep going. And there's the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, where if you have a kiddo, you're a resident of the county, click on that and you can sign up for the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Easy peasy. Scroll down a little bit. And then right there we talk about, we have partnered with the health department in the county, and we provide free COVID tests, Narcan kits, and fentanyl strips at all of our libraries. So you can click on that and get a little bit of information from there. The other thing that we have added to our website is the Hayden Superfund site. The EPA had asked us to make that available to our public, and so that's on there under community. You can find that and click on all kinds of lovely things. So yeah, we're good. We'll get out of that. I'm gonna go back to the PowerPoint key. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so 2023 in review. So library visits for all of 8 of our libraries for the year, 132,000 visits. That's about 2,600 people visiting one of our libraries each week. Library cards that are current card holders, 22,000. The items that we physically own within all of 8 of our libraries, the physical items, which are DVDs, books, audiobooks, magazines, even puzzles, 206,000. And of those items, 168,200 were borrowed for the year. So quite a bit of usage of all of our items. The next one is books that we own, ebooks, e-audio, and e-magazines, about a little over 8,000 items, and those items that were borrowed was 21,660. This number does include some of our partners. So for instance, anyone that was in Tempe and they wanted to borrow one of our books, we get to count that because it did get checked out. Those numbers have really accelerated since COVID. COVID really bumped those up when we had some of our libraries closed. So those have really bumped up a lot. Public computer sessions. So for the year, 16,350 sessions. That's people walking into the library, actually logging on to our public computers. We have roughly 100 public computers throughout the county. And that's 41-minute average session per computer. Some of those people like to stay on a lot longer than 41 minutes, and some of them only come in to check their email and they're out of there. So, but that's an average. public Wi-Fi hits, 90,850. So that's a lot of people that sit in the parking lot when we're closed, evenings, weekends, downloading, doing Facebook, whatever they're doing. Some of them, I think I've even watching videos sitting in the parking lot because I've been there and watched them. Overall, we have 34 library staff within the 8 libraries, and county library staff, that's just here at the library district, 4.5 FTEs. So as y'all know, we've got about 4,800 square miles in Gila County, and I thought this was a fun fact. Last year for visits, traveling, and mentorship, I traveled over 26,000 miles just to myself. That doesn't include my staff. So I get to go lots of places. So what's new? Our new website. We've increased our social media presence on Facebook and Instagram and a Pinterest account as well. We've got new branding, so this is some of the little bit of indication of some of our new branding. We have a new online staff training module called Niche Academy, and we're trying to get a lot of our library staff some additional training because they can't leave the library, so we're giving it to them online. Our culture passes are new, and then a new one that we're trying up and have been doing is a one-on-one librarian help. So if we have someone that just got, and we're going to have a lot of this after Christmas, a new e-reader, and they can't figure out how the heck to use it or how to download their ebook, call. We're going to help you. We'll come and do a one-on-one session with you. So that's all I've got for today. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And thank you for your time.
Supervisor Klein. Elaine, thank you. You've been very busy. It looks really good. So thank you so much for you and your staff and everything you do.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Elaine. Really appreciate all that you do, and it's a big job. You just pointed that out. There's a lot going on, so I appreciate you very much and all your staff. Thank you.
Yeah, what a great thing to have internet to all the libraries, and talk about the world at your fingertips. If somebody wanted to homeschool anymore, I mean, what kind of an education they could grow as much as they wanted to, as fast as they wanted to, and it's a great thing. And so I thank you very much for all you do and your presentation today.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we do have a member of the public that would like to make a comment.
Okay.
Name and address.
Bev Miller, Payson, Arizona. So, as a citizen and as a parent both, I've been concerned about, I guess, the lack of censorship as far as morality that I have heard even locally, but of course, other places. But anyway, I just wondered if there are protective measures. I actually was told by one of the librarians in our county that if you are a drag queen person and wanted to do a story hour, you were allowed to do that. That was a while back, so I don't know if that's changed. But that was very concerning. I was pretty shocked when I heard that. I don't have a lot of times where I can voice my concerns, so I'm using this as definitely as a sounding board. And so I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned that there's some materials in the library that are immorally not appropriate for children that are in the children's section. I'm worried about this whole gender diversity, fluidity stuff that seems to have overtaken our society, just like in the last year, all of a sudden. And I feel like we as citizens and parents need to speak out very strongly about that we don't want it to be in our schools and our libraries. And we don't want anything pushed that is immoral to our that goes against our values, basically. So I wanted to express my opinion. I think I speak for a lot of people who either don't or haven't been able to express their opinions, and I would like information about that. And Elaine, I'd like to know who I could talk with about this and gain information and maybe influence if things are happening in our local libraries. So those are my comments, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Menlove, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to point out that we do thank you, Elaine, Ms. Votruba, that for all of your support. Your energy and enthusiasm is contagious, and that is exactly what is needed for our library system and the great services that you deliver to all the residents and citizens of Gila County. So thank you for all you do. I did want to point out that it is a secondary taxing district, the library district, and that a vast majority of all those revenues that are collected are distributed to all of the libraries throughout Gila County based on population and some different factors is how that's distributed. All of the municipal, the incorporated cities and towns, they have they are city or town libraries, and we do provide financial support for those. Those libraries that are for Pine, Young, Tono Basin, and Hayden Winkleman, they are not, well, Hayden Winkleman's a different story, but those that are not within incorporated cities and towns, the support that the county gives to those libraries is really their only financial support that they have to run and exist on. And they operate almost exclusively on volunteers. So we express appreciation to the volunteers and to those that have those libraries and provide those services to the unincorporated cities and towns of Gila County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. If there's nothing further, Lane, thank you. I will move on. 4, call to the public. Do we have any public that cares to speak that hasn't already up and pacing?
Thank you. Yes, sir. We have at least 2 people that would like to speak on call of the public.
Okay, and they filled out their little cards. And if you would announce your name when you come up, whomever is first is welcome. And I'm sorry I don't know your name because I don't have your card.
That's okay. And I'll start my stopwatch so I'm within my time right now.
Well, thank you.
My name is Glenn Gelster, and I'm here in Payson. Been a resident here for 32 years, so I'm still a newcomer here. A couple of things I was thinking about, and I'm here. I have no agenda, and I'm not on the agenda today. So why am I here? I'm here because citizens need to be more engaged. Constituents, your constituents need to be here. When I look at an empty gallery here, there's no one here, and the only people that show up are people who have something on the agenda. We need to be involved, and we need to encourage each one of you. This morning, I was praying for all of you, each one of you personally. And what was I praying? I was, and it says in 1 Timothy 2, first of all, then, I urge that petitions, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgivings be made for everyone, for kings and all those who are in authority, so that we may lead a tranquil and quiet life in all godliness and dignity. What I've heard here today is you have a multitude of issues. You have nearly 5,000 square miles that you're covering. And we need to come alongside you and help you wherever we can and to pray for you. And as we see things, you were addressing an issue today about mapping and floodplain. Well, there's similar issues on different subjects. We had the Backbone Fire July of 2021 that nearly took out Pine and Strawberry. Well, what are the unintended consequences of that fire? There are people up there and businesses that are losing their ability to have fire insurance. They've been placed on a list. They've been mapped by either the Forest Service or someone else in an area that insurers do not want to insure those people anymore. So I'm bringing this to the supervisor's attention today because it's something you'll have to be addressing in the future as people don't have the ability to get fire insurance anymore in Pine Strawberry. That's one issue. There's another issue I've been thinking about, and that issue deals with a number of jurisdictions around the nation, local, both cities, towns, and counties are looking at, and some have already made themselves a Second Amendment sanctuary county and or town. Because what we have now is we have assaults on our ability to maintain the Second Amendment, and we need to push back against that on a local level, as well as we have many terrorists coming across our southern border. We have no idea how many there are, but there's a lot of them coming across. We need the ability to protect ourselves. And unless we have that ability, unless we designate ourselves and have a proclamation of a Second Amendment sanctuary county, then we may lose that ability to defend ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next.
Okay. Bev Miller again. I'm changing subjects, but not really when we think about it, because I feel like sane people who have their eyes open at all see that our country has really gone down the hill in many ways. What we kind of are taking for granted now would have been like absolutely, denied or not allowed in just a few years ago. The fact that we're thinking it's okay for the military to allow people to have operations that change their sexes, I mean, that should scare all of us. Anyway, going to elections, which is kind of the root of our problem, I believe, there have been a lot of things discovered, and supervisors of Gila County, you have a problem. The people have lost faith in our elections, and unfortunately, they're losing faith in our elected officials, too. I think people see you, I don't think this is accurate, but I think people see you as prideful, lazy, with willed ignorance, not being proactive in getting information. So Mr. Jim O'Connor, who is a corporation commissioner, wrote a letter to all of you supervisors, and he listed many things that at minimum you need to be doing. There's this, it's like a satellite system that they discovered very recently called FirstNet. And that really takes away all of the privacy. It's a direct, I hear people saying all the time, oh, our machines aren't connected to the internet. Well, they don't have to be connected to the internet. The FirstNet can be, communicated with directly. So, and also the problem is with our machine, what is it called, the counter machine, and the e-poll books, ES&S, they are not even allowed to be looked into by the vendors. I mean, we can trust, but we need to verify both. And I think highly of our elected officials. I feel like we can prove them to be correct if we have a hand count. So I want us to have a hand count, and I want it can be parallel with the machine count. That would be fine. But I've been studying a hand count method called the Missouri hand count. It's very doable, especially in our county. We don't have that many ballots. And I urge you to allow us to do hand counts for the PPE in 2024.
Okay. Your
Thank
3
you.
minutes are up. We appreciate your comments. If any of the supervisors care to respond to the criticism, they are welcome to, but that's the only thing that we can do. Supervisor Christensen, do you care to respond to the criticism about being lazy and incompetent in elections?
Well, that
and
wasn't
things of
my
that nature?
criticism.
No, thank you, Chairman. I don't care to comment.
Okay, Supervisor Klein?
I will comment. Ms. Miller, you're looking at three guys that take elections and everything very, very seriously. Not only that, but all of our positions very seriously.
Okay,
We've been over backwards to cover all of our election stuff. We have high faith in all of our department directors. We have not had what I would call an issue in Gila County, and that's the only place where this supervisor is focused. There's nothing I can do to change the state elections or the state statutes that govern elections, and we've been over this quite thoroughly and had a big work session on it, and I think that speaks volumes for the supervisors that Gila County has right now.
yes.
And we've addressed the hand count and everything else, and we're not, I am not, I can't say we because I cannot speak for the other two. I am not in favor of hand counts and not going to be, and I want to make sure that Gila County has all its bases covered, but that's the extent of it. And I think as a constituent, I'm just suggesting that you sit back and take a look at our track record, us three supervisors, especially two of us for 7 years, that we have come a long ways on this county and building our programs and put a lot of hard work and faith into this county to be where we are today. And I honestly don't believe that any one of us want to jeopardize that in any way. Thank you.
Oh, I believe that. Thank you.
Wait. It's our turn to respond. And as far as, criticism, we have not had any issues directed at Gila County that we've had any problems with our elections. And as far as being lazy and incompetent, apparently you're not one of my constituents because I have monthly meetings in all of my little towns, from Gaisila to Tano Basin to Roosevelt, and I'm on the radio a lot. I'm in front of my public a lot of time during the month. And so that's my response to the criticism, and Mr. Minilov may have a response, but your 3 minutes have gone.
Mr. Chairman, and Supervisor Klein, you did mention this, but we did have a 4-hour work session with the Board of Supervisors. You are open and transparent in our elections. You had a thorough discussion with Ms. Bingham, the county recorder, and Eric, our elections director, that you discussed and went through every phase, every facet of our elections process. That is available for the public to review and research, that 4-hour discussion on everything elections. So it has been addressed to the public. And with the process and the audits we've done, the elections in Gila County are properly conducted, and they are accurate and can be relied on. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. If there's no one else that cares to address the board and call to the public, then I will move forward to 5. At any time during the meeting pursuant to ARS 38-431.02K, members of the Board of Supervisors and County Manager may present a brief summary of current events. No action may be taken on the information presented. Supervisor Klein, do you have anything you care to share with us today? Supervisor Christensen, do you care to have anything to share with us today?
Well, I do want to express my appreciation, Supervisor Humphrey, for chairing the meeting today, and also Supervisor Klein helping out. I did want to say that the CSA Board of Directors, we had a meeting, and they talked about another groundwater management proposal, which is in its infancy. Apparently, there's about a 29-member advisory council that has been appointed by the governor. And so this is just another framework that's in its infancy to try and manage water basins and prevent groundwater mining. So it's just coming, and I think there's just always going to be a lot of discussion on what we should do with our groundwater. So that's all I have, though. Thank you.
Okay, Thank you, and I'm good for this meeting, so I think I'm gonna pass. I think Mr. Minlow would like to say something.
One comment, Mr. Chairman. Just a personal matter, but just to make sure you're aware that my 90-year young mother-in-law passed away last Tuesday, and she was the epitome of a life well lived. So I'm grateful to my mother-in-law that passed away, and there is a funeral for her this coming Friday that I will be out of the office for a couple days, the end of this week. So
You have my condolences, James.
thank you. She was a wonderful woman, and I'm grateful for her. So thank you.
Okay. If that's all, I will adjourn today's meeting. Thank you all very much.